Ois Zayin. So the Rebbe explained before that mitzad de rotzein ha'elyon. He's trying to explain how is it that there is such a thing as sins. First of all, by Adam Harishon, how could Adam Harishon sin? But the Rebbe asked also that it doesn't make even sense for us to do Averis. By Adam Harishon, we Tzirkap of the Rebbe explained before, and even by a person which has a chelik kamil mal mamish. And the Rebbe explained that essentially that it's actually the kavone, the Eibishter Neira Alila B'nei Odom, not only like the Medrash says that the Eibishter blames Odom for b'yom hachol chomesh tumos for bringing death into the world, but and its death has been predestined because the Torah is Alpayim Shana was already Odom Kiyomus Ba'il. But the Rebbe says also the Chet is the blame because the Eibishter, there's a kavone from the Eibishter for the person to do a sin. And the Rebbe brings down the different levels of which we see that even though the Ratzon Elyon is one way, but there's still a kavon in the opposite. And the Rebbe ended up by explaining three examples from the Miyat HaYoreach and explaining the idea of the Olam HaToyu to build Tikkun. But finally, the Rebbe remains with the example from the Tzimtzum. So that first, in order to create, the Eibishter wants a Gilui. And the Rebbe says, Mitzad the Gilui in Sof. It wants to be Gilui, Adira Betachtoinim should be Gilui. And it's not the, and in that Gilui, in the Gilui in Sof, we can't say that in the Gilui there's also Tzimtzum, because in order for Gilui to be in the Olam, there must be the Tzimtzum, because in Gilui in Sof there is no Tzimtzum. So there is the level of Gilui, that's the level of the world, the way it's in the Gilui, over there it's the Gilui Oir. And then there's another kavanah of Tzimtzum, which is Siloka to remove the land, to make the room for the Olam. In the Olam, in the Bechira, from the world, it's expressed that the Eibishter is Yechilas, that he has the ability to function also in a place of Helem. So, which is even a higher level than the level of Oir, because over here, the Eibishter is not limited in Gilui. It can also come down in this world as well. So the Rebbe continues, so is Zayin, the same thing is in the service of man. The fact that a person can do against the Eibishter's will. How could we do against the Eibishter's will? That takes place because there was a tzimtzum, because there was a siluka oir, because we don't find godliness in the world. So therefore, it's very obscure. We don't see at all Hashem, and therefore the person can do opposite of the Ratzon Elyon. But the reason why a person has that ability is mipnei shaha'atzmus einay mukhrach b'shum davar, because atzmus is not forced in any matter, which means mitzad atzmus you don't have to do one way or the other. Mitzad atzmus you can actually do against the Ratzon HaElyon. The Ratzon HaElyon is to do mitzvahs. But mitzad atzmus, he is not forced in any matter. So what happens? Elo shebe'inyan zeh, but in this matter, so in the matter of avodas ha'odam, meaning we're saying that a person mitzad gilui oir, he can only do takeh mitzvahs. He can't go against Ratzon Ha'elyeh. But because of atzmus, that Adam can do against Ratzon Ha'elyon also, because atzmus is not bound by the Ratzon Ha'elyon. Elo shebe'inyan zeh, but in this matter, in avodas ha'odom, hakoyach sheniten la'odom lasis hepech harotzon, that power that the person was given to do against the will, which is ha'inyan the yichelus ha'atzmus, that this atzmus is able to do against the will which the person has, hu betachlis ha'helem v'ha'hester. It's totally blocked and obscure. You don't see that it's the atzmus that is causing him to do heipech harotzon. You don't see that. But val yidei sheha'odam oved es havaya, but through the fact that the person serves Hashem, v'ha'avodah hi bekoyach atzmai u'bibchirosei, and the person serves on his own with his own power and his choice. He makes the choice because he doesn't, it's the person's choice that he makes. He doesn't feel the chelas ha'atzmus. So why do we saying, how do we say that the person chooses to do? How could you choose to do something outside of Hashem? Dagam she'orin sof hu b'chol mokim ve'ein davar chutz mimenu. Even though that the infinite light of the Ein Sof is everywhere, and there's nothing outside of him, mikol mokim. So how could you choose by yourself where everything you do, Hashem is supposed to be everywhere, and there's nothing outside of Hashem? So how could you be doing things on your own and you're making choices when the Ein Sof is everywhere? There's nothing with outside of him. But mikol mokem mikivon shehu yizbarechu kol yochel. But since the Eibishter is all able, can do anything, bara esa adam be'oifun sheyuchel lavet b'koyach atzmei. So the Eibishter created man that he can serve in his own, on his own power. Meaning the Eibishter has the ability to allow for a person to make choices, even though it is Ein Sof is everywhere. How could you go against the Ein Sof? But the Eibishter put this in, and all able that he can do, he can make the choice, and you can work on your own. You have to make the decision. So when the person does this work on his own through his bechira, al yidei zeh mizgala, then it's revealed shekoyach habechira de ha'odam, that the power of choice of man, the fact that he could do as he wishes, what he feels, then from that is revealed gam zeh sheyochel livcher chas v'sholem b'hepech harotzin, that also this, that he can, God forbid, chose against the will. Because here we know that it's up to the person. It's up to the person. That is because of the koyach of atzmus. So when the person works on his own, that fact that a person can work on his own and, God forbid, to choose bad, that means u'mitzad yichelos ha'atzmus, that is because the ability of the atzma. So the basically the reason the reason why the person could actually choose to do against Hashem is mitzad atzmus, because he makes choice. The Eibishter atzmus gave him bechira. Mitzad atzmus he has bechira. Mitzad giluyim, mitzad the oir, uh, he would do only right. There's nothing there. That's what the Rebbe says. The nefesh, everything as explained before. But mitzad atzmus, who is not limited in the limitation of gilui, of oir, of good. So the person has freedom of choice. Once you have freedom of choice, that means you can choose good or bad, because atzmus isn't limited to the level of oir. And this is all saying that the uh, person has to make his choice, and could make the choices, because the person is not limited to the oir. That comes about when the person works with his own bechira. Then you see that he's not limited to being in one way or the other. The koyach habechira shows us on the power of atzmos that is in the person. And the Rebbe explains now another idea with this. It's a very interesting medrash, a surprising medrash. The medrash says something very strange. The medrash says that maybe Hashem doesn't even want tzaddikim. Maybe Hashem wants rishoyim. We're not sure. What does that mean? The Rebbe is going to explain. And the Rebbe is going to bring down from the Baal Shem Tov that, because how could we tell who tzaddikim are? Because we compare them to the rishoyim. So maybe since we need the rishoyim as a comparison, so maybe Hashem wants the rishoyim too, so that we have that comparison. But the Rebbe said, how could we say that? The Rebbe is going to ask how, even for comparison purposes. The Rebbe will explain. We can tie this in Toras HaBaal Shem Tov, with the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov ala Posik. The Pasuk says, Vayhi Erev, Vayhi Boker. There was evening and there was morning. What is evening? Evening represents nighttime, the acts of the Rishoyim, of the evil. The Isa b'Medrash, the Medrash says, Vayhi Erev, Eilu Maseyim Shel Rishoyim. Evening means this is the act of the evil. And then it says, Vayhi Boker, Eilu Maseyim Shel Tzadikim. So the Eibishter created Erev and Boker. There is the act of evening, which is the act of Rishoyim. Vayhi Boker Elu Masem Shel Tzadikim is the act of Tzadikim. So now we have both. Eibishter creates them both. Says the Medrash, Ve'enei Be'yodeya Be'eza Mehen Chofetz. I don't know which one the Eibishter wants. He creates both, Erev and Boker. Which one does he really want? But Kivon Diksi Vayar Elikim Esoir Kitov. Since it says Hashem Elikim sees the Oir Kitov. No, it's the Boker, is the Oir is Kitov. Habib Maseyim Shel Tzadikim Uchofet. So the Medrash says the Eibishter wants the act of Tzadikim. This is surprising. The Tomua. So it's surprising. How does it even fit a thought that the Eibishter wants the act of the evil? How could we even say that? So the Baal Shem Tov explains the yesh to'eles v'yisrein la'oir min ha'choshech. There is a benefit and there is an advantage to the light when it comes from the darkness. Meaning we need darkness in order for the light to be able to compare it to come from the darkness. The light is much more powerful. I know. What the Baal Shem Tov explains, Shemailas Yisrael Ha'oir Nikeres Mitzad HaChoshech, that the advantage and the greatness of the light, you can tell when it comes from darkness. If you bring light, there's no darkness. You can't see the advantage of light. But when the light comes from darkness, then you can tell. V'chein mailas hachochem, and also the advantage of the wise one, nikeres mitzada tipesh, is recognizable from the fool. If you won't see that he's a chochem, but when you have in the presence of a fool, then you see that he's a chochem. And the mailas hatzadik is mitzada rosh v'chum. And the maila of a tzaddik is when it comes from a rosha instead of a rosha. So this turns out, so it turns out, in order to appreciate the oil and to appreciate the chochem, to appreciate the tzaddik, you need to have a choshech, a tipesh, and a rosha. V'zehu ve'eni yedei eizem hem chotitz. So that's why it says we don't know which one he wants. The kivon shegam ma'isor shoyim hu kisei l'ma'isei tzadikim. Since the act, also the act of the Rishoyim, is a share, it's a level, a step up for the act of tzaddikim. Yesh mokum loymar, so there is place to say, shakoil nichnas ba'achdus echad chad. Maybe this is all one unity. God forbid the Rishoyim with the tzaddikim, they're all the same because they're all the same kavanah. Says the Baal Shem Tov, Lekach nemar vayara lekimes oir kitov. That's why the pasuk says no. The oir is kitov elu maseyim shol tzadikim. This is the act of tzadikim. Ki b'maisor rishoyim tzorich havdola, because we need to separate from the maisor rishoyim. That's not accepted, even though the tzadik comes from there, but it's not the same. Over there explains the pasuk that the Rebbe will bring down later. Chishavti drochai v'ashiva ragla ledesecha. He thought his passageways he'll go around, but I go back to my tendency. I go back to the Eibishter's Torah. Sifyud Gimel. I'll explain later on Sifyud Gimel. That's what the Baal Shem Tov says. But still, the Rebbe says now that the reason why we can tell the advantage of light and the advantage from the darkness is because darkness is inferior. So how could we say that you may think this is all one, that the inferior is also part of it? We have to understand this. The fact that the advantage of light is recognizable from the darkness. So similarly, how is that? Through the inferiority of darkness, you can tell the advantage of light. So how could we say just because of this inferiority to tell also the act of Rishoyim darkness is all enters in one unity. They're also any idea there as well, just as the tzaddikim. So the Rebbe says there's a very stark word over here. Over here, what we're saying, that the advantage of light is recognizable, is the koyach ha'atzmus that we said before. The fact that you can make choices means that is because of the atzmus, of the ability of the atzmus to do in such a way as well. That the intent in this that the advantage of life is light is recognizable through the cheshech, he shall yidei ha'efsharus livcher b'maisor rishoyim, through the possibility to choose in the act of rishoyim. So then niker shemaisa tzadikim hu bevchiros malchavshi. Then you can tell that what the tzadikim is doing is also the free will. Avoida bekoyach atzmo. That's the avodah doing on their own, because you would not know that what they're doing is their avodah, because the only way we know it, as the Rebbe explained before, it's nizgale, because he can choose also the other side, the negative. That tells us that when he does choose the positive, he's choosing it because that's his decision. B'koyach atzmom is b'chira chovshis. The kivon shall yidei ha'avodah b'koyach atzmos. B'koyach atzmos. Since through the avodah with his own power, mizgala, that is revealed, shegam ha'efshorus livcher b'maisar rishoyim hu mitzad yechelos ha'atzmos. So when the person serves with his own koyach, so then you see it's revealed. How is the Eibishter able to choose the Ma'aser Rishoyim? Because Atzmus can do anything. He can choose the Ma'aser Rishoyim. L'chein mokem loymar. That's why there is room to say it's a possibility. Shu chofetz b'Ma'aser Rishoyim. What does it mean that he wants Ma'aser Rishoyim? Hainug. That means not the actual acts of the Rishoyim, but Hainu shat Hainug the Lamailo. What is the delight of above? V'chein gilu achdusa yisborich, and also the revelation of unity nichnas b'abdus echad, as it says the lashon. It's all the oneness. Who gam beha efshoris livcher b'maisar rishoyim. So maybe it is because the tainug of above is because he has the capacity, the capability to choose the maisar rishoyim. We're not talking about the actual act of the Rishoyim, but the possibility, the choosing of the Ma'aser Rishoyim. So maybe Chafetz b'Ma'aser Rishoyim, that is also Nichnas b'Achdus Echad, it's revealing the unity of Hashem. Hashem has the all able to, and Atzmus can allow for even Ma'aser Rishoyim. V'lochech kach nemar, Bayar Elikim es oir kitov. That's why it says the Eibush saw the oir kitov shu chofes b'maseyim shel tzadikim davke, that he wants the act of the tzadikim specifically. Don't say that Hashem is also okay and the Gilu HaTainug is mitzad the Bechira, because they can choose to do against the Rotzen, and that's Megala, the capabilities of Yechilas. No. Vayavd vayar elikim es ha'or kitov, it is chofetz b'maseim shel tzadikim. Oisches. V'hinei nisbayer li'il sivov. Before in Sivov we explained the bekavones hatzimtzum shnei inyonim, that the intent of the tzimtzum is two things. First of all, b'shvil hagilui. So if there is a tzimtzum, then it can be revelation. And v'shal yidei hatzimtzum mizgale inyan hahelem, and then through the tzimtzum is revealed the idea of the Helam Shalamayla Megilusha Mitzad Yechelos Ha'atzmus, which is the ability of Atzmus. So when there is a Tzimtzum, number one, there is able to be Gilui, and number two, from the Tzimtzum itself, you get the level of Helem of Yechelos Ha'atzmos, because of the fact that there is Bechira, And Bechira comes because Atzmus can allow to do even against the will of Hashem. So the Rebbe adds to this now, Lahoisiv the Mevur Bekama Mekoimes. The Rebbe wants to add that even in Gilui, Bishvil Gilui, there's two parts. Here we're talking Bishvil Gilui, and to be Megala the Helam, Shalamayla Megilui. But the Mevur Bekama Mekoimes, there is a Gam Bekavonas Hatzimtzum, Bishvil Hagilui Shnei Yonim. Even the intent of the tzimtzum for the Gilui, there's two aspects here. Shekavonas Hatzimtzum. So what are the two in Yonim? So the intent of the tzimtzum here, in order for that Eirin Sof that's shown, that was before the tzimtzum. The light that filled the entire hollow place, is that it should be an Eilumis. So in other words, we should be able to get the Eirin Sof that was before Hatzimtzum, for it to come down in the world. So we need the Tzimtzum. In order for the Eirin Sof to be in the worlds, we need Tzimtzum. Why? The Koydem HaTzimtzum lo ye'efshel liyis mitzias olam ha'olamis, because there could not be a existent, there couldn't be an entity of worlds before the Tzimtzum. So there could be no revelation in the world because there is no world. If you want the Ein Sof to be in the world, you got to make place for a world. Otherwise, the Gilu will not be in the world. So what in that level, that's the first level in Gilu, that through the Tzimtzum is Nischadesh, Shagilu the Ein Sof Yegam B'Olamis, that Gilu of Ein Sof should be in Olamis. Before the Gilu Ein Sof was not in Olamis. Tzimtzum accomplished that now there is Olamis, so the Gilu Ein Sof is in Olamis. What's number two? B'shal Yidei HaTzimtzum Yiyeh HaGilui Depnimius V'Atzmus Ein Sof Shalamaylo Meha'oir Shohoy Memale Mokum HaCholol. Actually, through the Tzimtzum, there will be a revelation, not just from the Oir. It will be the Pnimius V'Atzmus Ein Sof Shalamaylo Meha'oir, the inner and the essence of the Ein Sof, which is higher than Oir. Shohoy Memale Mokum HaCholol, that filled the Chalol. Before the Tzimtzum, what shown in the Cholol was Ein Sof. But now, through the Tzimtzum, what shines in the world is the Pnimius V'Atzmus Ein Sof, which is higher. The Ha'oir Shohoya Memale Mokim HaCholol, the light that was filling the place of the Cholol, Hu HaHelem, the Oir HaKav. That is what was hidden before you have the Oir HaKav. So there was Helem, and then the Eibishter was Mamshech the Kav. So what is the light? It's the Helem of the Oir HaKav. Hainu shehamshochas HaKav me'ir zeh, that we bring the Kav from this light, Ibai from the Gila Helem, revealing that was hidden, which is Shodesh Eira Memale. That is the root of Eira Memale. So the Memale is the Oir HaKav that comes from that Helem. Va'oir shelemayla me'ha'oir shehoya memale mokom ha'cholol, and the light that is higher than the light that filled the cholol before the tzimtzum. Hu shoyresh oir hasevev. That is the root of the oir hasevev. So you have the helem from which the oir hakav comes, and you have an oir hasevev, the oir which was higher than the light that was malam mokom ha'cholol. And that's the Shoyresh Oir HaSevev. So, b'tzorich lahavin, How is it possible Sheyeh Ba'olam Gilui Naila Kazeh, such a great, how could there be in the world such a great elevation? Shelo Hayir Afilu Koidim HaTzimtzum, that wasn't even before the Tzimtzum. Ba'afal Pikein Lo Yizbat Lo Elul Mitzius, and still the world will not uh, be destroyed, taken away from its existence. Basically, the way the Eitz Chaim explains that before the Eibishter made the Tzimtzum, there was the oil that filled the whole area. When Hashem created the Tzimtzum, there was a cholol u'mokim ponu, there was a space. But before, there was the light of Hashem. What light of Hashem was there? That light of Hashem later on vanished. The Eibishter made a Tzimtzum. He was misalik that oil. And from that oil that was there before, and Hashem removed, the Eibishter drew a kav, and that line comes down of all the worlds. So it turns out that what is mishtalshel in the world from the light from before the tzimtzum, there was the oir that memale hacholol, and then you have the kav from that oir. But even before the tzimtzum, there was one light that filled the world. But then there was a light that was higher than the light that filled the world. From that light, that is the level of Seviv Kolam. So in the world, we have both a light from Memale and we have a light from Seviv. Memale comes from the light that was Memale the Cholol, and there was the Tzimtzum from that Oir. The Oir HaSeviv in the world comes from the oir that was higher than the oir that was memale the cholo. And that means that in this world, we're getting from the oir haseviv, and we're getting even higher than the oir that filled the world. We're getting from the oir haseviv. So how is it possible that in the world should be getting such a great level that wasn't even before the Tzimtzum, because the Eir HaMemale Cholo was the source for Memale Kulam. This is even higher, and yet the world should not be in this battle. So the Rebbe brings down the two inyonim in the Gilui of Ein Sof that took place. We have both. We have the Gilu, the measured, the Gilu Mamale, and we have the Gilu Seviv. Besides the fact that we have the Gilu of Yechelos Ha'atzmus, but in the Gilu itself, but Mitzad Meile, Mitzad Yechelos Ha'atzmus, that doesn't interfere because that's Helam, that's hidden. But it's only Nizgala, the fact that the person does Avodah. So you see, you're doing the avodah because you have bechira. It's nizgala that it's atzus, but it's a union of behelim. It's not niker. It's not in the avodah. But here we're talking about the oir and the gilui, and we're talking about the two giluyim. So the Rebbe asks, how is it shayches that level of gilui should come down and the world should still remain intact as a world? And we shall continue. Be'ezer Hashem.
Okay.
Shvere Meist. It's very difficult. What could we do?
Okay. See you later.